Well, studio, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome now, Chris Chism, Superintendent, Pearl Public School District. Hey, Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
So you have been making presentations across the state on some of the work you've been doing and just your use of artificial intelligence, generative AI particularly. How did you get interested in this?
Really, I got into this about 6 or 7 years ago, and it was really for financial purposes. I saw where it was going. I listened to Sam Altman and Suleiman and some of these guys that are, the godfathers of this, especially the language models anyway. And I jumped into this to figure out where I wanted to put a little money back 6 years ago. And NVIDIA, Taiwan Semiconductor, C3 AI, and some of those started putting money in that. And, of course, I'm a little bit techie too. So I listened to some of their discussions, read about how they're creating these language models. So it kind of became a hobby, and over the last, 12 or 15 months, it's turned into something that's it's a little bit crazy, because I will tell you, my biggest fear in life is public speaking, and now I'm doing it pretty much all over the place.
Yeah. Interesting. So are you still holding your NVIDIA?
I am.
Okay.
I am. I'm hanging on and putting more in it, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going anywhere.
I don't either. Just had a 10-to-1 split. I've talked about it on the program. I saw some market analysts last week who predicted the company could achieve $10 trillion in market cap by 2030. It's sitting just north of $3 trillion right now. So
right.
That's substantial growth. No end in sight. They have such a head start with the GPU production, way ahead of all the chip manufacturers. I think they're playing catch up big time. So
they are.
They'll be, I think, still leading the pack for quite some time.
In fact, didn't I see there was some incentive package done last week here in the United States for other companies to jump into this? There's actually the Department of Justice, even in its kind of short life, is already looking at NVIDIA as perhaps being monopolistic and looking at antitrust. Right.
Which is crazy to me, because I don't want the Department of Justice to get involved and start to impede and impair additional innovation. The company is incredibly innovative. They're ingenious, honestly. Mr. Wang, that heads the company, was part of the development team to create the technology. So I don't want the government to jump in and think they're under the pretense of, protecting consumers and investors. But when they jump in, they typically do interfere with what could be much even more powerful technology.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, hope that's coming. All right, so but when you present this to people, because I've done a little bit of that as well. You can get some people get really excited, want to dig in, want to hear more, learn more, figure out how they can benefit from it, and some people they start to gloss over a little bit. So, tell me about your presentation. How does that work?
Well, what I do is try to keep people from being scared of it.
Sure.
I think when they hear AI, the first thing they think about is, RoboCop. The things that they've seen in the movies, and it may get there at some point, but that's not where we are now.
Yeah.
Really, it's using this and not being scared to use it. And really, what my presentation centers around is where this came from, a little bit of how it works, but really the things that I've learned over the last 14 or 15 months using it every single day to become what I call a power user. It's only as good as the inputs that you put in.
Sure.
So what I try to teach people to do is use the things that I've learned over the course of that time and walk right in and be able to use it almost, I don't want to say at an expert level, but at a much higher level than what they would if they just played with it for the first time. So I give them very specific examples of how to use it. And again, I can warp the presentation into whatever. It doesn't matter. I've done this for business. I've done this for attorneys. I've done this for obviously school people. I've done it all over the place, and really you can warp. The presentation is the same. It's just what's the end that makes them want to jump into it and try it.
Yeah. So talk about some of the use cases you were showing me out in the green room that you're using in an education environment.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that we can use it. If you're into statistical testing, you can upload a file. Obviously, data security is extremely important, so we pull off names and numbers and those things. But the state test scores came out yesterday, the preliminary stuff. So I have pulled all of those things out, and I've let it run ANOVAs and t-tests and other things that I do on data. I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
You can upload the file and let it run it itself. All you have to do is have a conversation with it to make it understand what you're wanting on the back end. And then other things such as RFPs. We do requests for proposals all the time. A lot of times that would take my CFO and I 2 or 3 days to get one of those done. Now I've created my own GPT using ChatGPT, created my own to where I've uploaded all purchasing laws in the state. I also have it scanning state laws. I also have it scanning federal laws if we're using federal dollars for something. We can create an RFP in 10 to 15 minutes where it used to take us 3 days. Quite honestly, it saves probably 30 to 40% of my time as a superintendent. So it's just, again, there's 1,000 ways that you can use it. You just have to come up with what makes sense for you in whatever job you're in.
So when you've created this sort of customized GPTs and use cases for your staff or just within your district like that, they're able to access that as well, right?
They can. Actually, 2 weeks ago, they opened it up. I'm not sure if you saw GPT 4.0 is out now, not 4.0, 4.0 is out. Whenever they release that, they allow you now to send those out to anybody that you want. So I can send it to my CFO. I created a lesson planner for the district that's built around the things that we're looking for in the classroom. I can send that to any teacher, and it will create them a lesson plan based around of course, the standard, but what we're looking for in the classroom. So now all I have to do is email that out, and again, it's a quick shortcut. And I want to say this too: it's not perfect. Yeah. Understand, you don't take this and use it as its fact and law. You have to go through it. Use it as what I call it is the perfect assistant, and I call it the perfect search engine. I don't use Google anymore. I use ChatGPT to go and look for those things for me. And so you use it as such. You don't believe everything that it says. You go back and double check everything. But I will tell you this: in our use in the places that we've used it, it's 90 to 95% accurate. It's been really good.
Well, and to me, though, it's one of those things where a lot of people have the so-called writer's block. So this kind of gets you going, right? So you get a framework, you get an outline, you get some underlying basis to use to create the finished product. Not perfect, pretty close. Still requires some human analysis and adjustment, perhaps. But, man, you're getting out of the blocks pretty quickly.
Yeah. And again, even simple things like if I'm going to send something out to the district, I used to have to send that to my assistant superintendent, maybe a high school English teacher to edit, to make sure everything is right. Now the editing is done in 10 seconds, and I'm yet to find anything that's wrong. So again, it speeds everything up, and I'm big on efficiency. I want to make sure that we're efficient in anything that we do. And if you know how to use this, it can cut some time off of anything that you're doing. Yeah,
it's incredible. So, what do the students think about this? Having a superintendent that's tech savvy and really all over this transformational technology.
Well, I think the kids think it's fun, the ones that I've talked to about it. And I've actually gone into a couple of classrooms and used it with teachers too. And I think it's too with us. This is moving so fast. There's a job market for this yesterday.
Sure.
Understand, if kids know how to use this, they've got a place to go. So I think it's incumbent upon us, especially at the upper levels, sophomore, junior, senior, that we teach kids to use this and teach them to use it ethically. I think that's the key. And we've got some teachers that have done some ingenious things about teaching ethics with this as well. And I'll give you an example of that. We've got an English 2 teacher. There was actually a news special done on her. It was really, really good. So she had ChatGPT write 5 essays. Okay, and then she came into the class, split the kids into 5 groups, and then she took the state writing rubric and handed it to the kids. I said, I need you to grade this. Every one of them failed it. So that was the point. At the end, she said, this is why you don't use it by itself. You use this as an assistant. Use this as something that helps you write better. You don't let it generate for you.
What kind of guardrails have you implemented in the district, if any, to protect against just pure use of the tool to complete assignments?
Right. That's a great question, and that comes up in every place that I go. Sure. And really the thing is, we have to control the 8 hours that we have kids. Yeah. That if you think that kids aren't going to go home and use this, you've got your head buried in the sand. Sure. So we really have to control the 8 hours that we have. And luckily in our district, we have Apple in the district. We have iPads. So Apple Classroom does a fabulous job of locking kids into the things that we want. So if a kid needs to write, Apple Classroom will lock them directly into Microsoft Word, and they can't get out. So there's some guardrails that we have within the classrooms that help with this.
Very cool. Chris, sounds fascinating. I'm glad to see you taking a lead here on this, because this is going to become mainstream commonplace across society in every corner, in every discipline.
It's coming. It's like a train, and really it's coming exponentially. That's the part that people don't understand.
Agree. Hold on to that, NVIDIA.
We'll do it.
Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
We're coming right back, folks, in the Element